but don't be back here because then I can hear you. I don't want you here because then I can hear you, but you hear an echo. Good morning. Good morning. Get myself good morning organized. All right. All right, can everybody hear me? Let me know so that I can testing a few things this morning here. I just trying to make sure. It's very hard to make sure that you can hear yourself when you can't really. Yes, Miss Kathy. It was a late night or a very early morning, however you want to look at it. It wasn't a completely all-nighter, but it was definitely early this morning when I went to bed. But that's okay. I do it for you. All right. Oh, good. Good. I'm playing with a microphone and I think I need a new computer because I learned some things about a little bit more technology this week than I ever thought I would need to know, and had to play around with some audio settings to try to make things work. So that type of thing. So yes, welcome to the new studio. What do you think? It's so much prettier than looking at those racks of quilts behind me, right? Yes, so it's coming together. It's coming together. Everybody have a good evening, I hope. I gotta figure out a way to keep him out of the studio before he makes everything fall down.
I set it up.
It wasn't just you. We all did it at the last minute. I was like, it's not really pretty behind me. I really have a way to hang quilts to cover up my storage issue on the other side. And then I remember it's something that we've had for years, and I finally have the perfect use for it. All right. Is everybody ready to talk about turkeys this morning? So I have 4 ways to do Thanksgiving themed turkey blocks with AccuQuilt this morning. So lots of options. And if you were last night at the Facebook at our live at 5 on Fridays, remember, if you don't get it done for this year, you're not late. You're just ahead of the game. You are working ahead and you will have this ready for next Thanksgiving or fall. So don't think of it as, this is not a glass half empty situation. This is a glass half full. Okay, we're just getting ready for next week. Good morning, Miss Felice. Good morning, Miss Terry. Yes, thank you, everybody. I'm glad we can hear. I do have on makeup. I definitely look a little bit better than I did when I got out of bed this morning for you. So yes, it was a late evening, but I am prepared maybe not 100% prepared for what I had grand plans for, but you're going to get to see some turkeys, and that's all that really matters. All right, so let's get started here this morning. We are going to, like I said, we're going to chat about turkeys, and I have 4 options or 4 ways to build blocks with AccuQuilt dies using turkeys and turning them into turkeys or things that look like turkeys, turkey-esque. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is using your AccuQuilt cubes and companion angles. Okay, so if you are new to AccuQuilt or don't understand this whole cube and companions and things like that, we have in the world of AccuQuilt, we have an 8, a 6, an 8, a 9, a 10, and a 12-inch cube. Okay, and so these cubes are made up of 8 shapes, okay, that go together to make quilt blocks. Okay, so let me change cameras here. So in a basic cube, or what we call the mix and match cube, we have 8 shapes, and they are numbered. We have a square, a 4-patch, a half square triangle, a quarter square triangle, rectangle, parallelogram, square on point, a smaller half square triangle, or the corners to the square on point. Okay, so in the cube comes a 1 die for each of these. It comes with a 6-inch square mat. They go together that you can easily make 72. This is just 72. These are what we call 4-patch blocks. Okay, so they are basically 2 across and 2 down. You could use these cubes to go 3 across and 3 down, or 4 across and 4 down, and make way more than just the 72 that are shown here. Well, to expand your mix and match cube, we have 2 companion cubes, one of which is the companion angles, which adds the triangle and a square, and then it adds, these are the corners to the triangle and a square, adds a kite, and this is the edges of the kite, and then you have we call the signature block is in the companion angle. And then we also have a corner companion. The corner companion adds, this is a trapezoid. This is the autograph block for a signature quilts. You have the snowball, the corner of the snowball, and then you have the other, I don't even know what they call that. Let's see. Chisel, that's the word. The chisel that's in the corners. So with the companions, you expand the blocks that you are capable of doing with your cubes. Okay, so for example, you have 72 with just the mix and match. You expand to 144 blocks by using your mix and match in the corners, and then you can expand to 216 blocks with corners, cubes, and the corner cube, angle cube, and the mix and match cube. So it expands the ability that all of these go together, they match, they fit together, and you're guaranteed that they're going to work together. This little turkey right here is the pattern for this. Is if you have this book, this is the Go book called Outside the Box by Eleanor Burns. These are usually, some of you may have earned it free. These are free options a lot of times when you purchase cubes and things along that lines. But in this book is where you find the pattern for the, starts out as a leaf block, okay? So this is the falling leaves quilt, okay? That if you leave the stem off and replace the stem with a turkey body, you have a turkey, okay? So if we look at the turkey here, we have the chisel, okay, that came out of the corner cube. So this is shape number 9. At the end of shape number 9, we have shape number 5. This is the rectangle from the mix and match, so shape 8. Okay, another chisel. This is the kite. Okay, so this is shape 15 with shape 14 on each side. More chisels, rectangle, and the square. So sewing them together gives you that unit that can either be turkeys or it can be a leaf. Okay, so fairly quick and easy. Okay, you can make, this is a little runner. It's got a turkey on each end and a leaf in the middle, done borders and cornerstones. So a fairly quick and easy little project using probably, if you have cubes at home, using things that you already have. Okay, so this one was done, you could make them with any size cube. Okay, this one I believe was the 8-inch cube. I could be wrong. Yeah, it was the 8-inch cubes, but you could do this in a 9-inch. You could do it in the 10, the 12, even the 6. It's just going to control the overall end size of your block. Okay, so just because I made it in the 8 doesn't mean that it has to be made in 8. You can use the same shape numbers and make him giant. Okay, so he would be really, really cute. I think big in a 12-inch cube. Okay, all right. So after we have the, now we've done this turkey in the cube, let's look at Dresden plates. Okay, so a Dresden plate, and this, this particular pattern here is available for download on the AccuQuilt website. You go to the AccuQuilt website and you just type in turkey in the search box, this little guy will come up for you. Okay. His feathers are made from the Dresden plate die. His body and his head come out off of the Dresden plate die as well. And then his feet and his nose come off of the holiday accessories die that are designed for you to embellish the snowman, which are made of the 3 size circles, which is a different die. So I wanted to go over and cover the Dresden plate die with you today, because I mean, these don't have to be turkeys. I mean, these could be flowers, they could be sunflowers. There's lots of options that you can do with Dresden plates. All right, let's change cameras. Okay. So the Dresden plate die comes and looks just like this. There are 2 circles, each of which are 4-inch circles. You have 4 what would be pointed fan blades, and then you have 4 rounded fan blades. So this is a die that you would only be covering the section that you want to cut. Okay, so I would not be using a mat that was completely the size, the 10 by 24 mat, unless you were looking to do an option on the Dresden plate that mixed round and pointed petals. Okay, so when I cut the turkey, I only worked with this section. So I used a 6 by 12 mat or a 10 by 10, just so that it covered just this section. I did not need these cut, and I didn't need these cut at the time that I was working on his body, okay, or on his feathers. So let me get my fabric here. So this is what gets cut, okay? That's little feather or your little blade. It has little notches on it so that when you line them up, you have the ability to make sure that they're all lined up lengthwise. Now, we want to make this pointed, okay? So to make your Dresden plate pointed, you're going to fold it in half, wrong sides together, and you're going to give it a light crease, okay? That light crease is going to help you make sure that you get this straight and ironed straight when you flip it right side out, okay? We're going to fold it in half, give it a light crease. We're going to sew 1/4 inch across the fat end, okay? So we'll sew across the 1/4 inch, across the fat end. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Okay, okay, so I've got 1/4 inch. I want to clip the seam allowance here at the fold, okay? So we're gonna trim the seam allowance down a little bit. And so all I'm going to do is I just kind of start here and I grade into it, not cutting the actual stitching on that point, but just getting it down so that when I turn this right side out in a little bit, the bulk isn't, you're not trying to cram the bulk into the point of your Dresden plate, okay? Now, once you have that trimmed, you're going to use a point turner or anything like that, use your fingers, or a pin, and you're going to turn this right side out. Okay. Well, one thing, you're going to press the seam open. Sorry. You just want to use the tip of your iron, or you can finger press if you want, but we want to press this seam open. We don't want to set an iron completely down on top of this because we don't want any extra creases happening in the point, the tip of we just want this to kind of press flat. Okay. It's on the other side of the table. It's okay. And then we're going to turn right side out. You're going to take that seam and we're going to line that seam up with the crease that's running down the middle. That's helping us make sure that this stays square, okay? Because if it doesn't, they get lopsided. So we want to press it so that this stays towards the middle. Once you have that marking done, then you can give this a press completely. You can get rid of this crease, and you want to get a nice flat crease, and you want to make sure that you've got nice points, okay, to your Dresden plates. Now, one thing on the rounded end would need to be either hand appliqued on the ends of these, okay? You can't really sew it together and do the same technique that you do here, okay? So with the rounded Dresden plates, a lot of us will baste and pull the basting so that this kind of curls under, and then give it a good press in that aspect, so that that's how you turn that edge under here. Or you can hand turn it, but it's gonna be harder to keep them all consistent. All right, now, let me move some things. Here they are. So you're going to you will put 2 of them right sides together, okay? We put 2 right sides together. You can match up the notch that's there. That just helps to guarantee that your top and your bottom and your points are lined up in the right location. And sew with a 1/4 inch seam, okay? And you continue all the way across. You're going to press these seams in one direction, okay? So I just pressed them all one direction. There are 11 points here to make this turkey's body, its feathers, okay? And then you would have that. All right. Now, then we have a circle that was cut with the die. Now everything's gonna have to be appliqued to the background, and I personally would do it by sewing machine, okay? Good old blanket stitch, or just a straight stitch, or invisible machine applique is your choice. When you cut out the body and his head and neck, I would probably apply fusible web to the wrong side of your fabric before you cut it. That way you can fuse this in place, okay? And then it won't move on you. These really aren't going to go anywhere. I would pin this to my background. I would not be putting fusible on this particular portion, but his body I would, and his head and neck. So I would get this little guy appliqued down where it belongs. These bottom Dresden plates will need to be turned under, okay, and folded so that you have a finished edge here. That way, when you applique this down, it will be nice and finished, okay? Then you can position his body on there, applique it in place. Now, with his head, you're gonna take your scissors or your rotary cutter and you're going to cut these notches off so that they're not there. And then you're going to put his head in place. All right. Now, this particular turkey, we then can use the, here's your holiday accessories die. Here's his feet, okay, and his nose. All right. His eyes, I would probably do with small buttons, French knots, things like that. That would be an awfully tiny circle. And the circles that come in the owl accessories and things like that, I think are, I mean, they're cute, but I think they're a little big. The circle that is in the new cookie decoration die, the die that has the circles and the clothes for the gingerbread man, they may be slightly smaller, but I would test it to make sure that, find the circles that were in proportion. But in the pattern, they use French knots. That's there. Okay, so you would build your background however you wanted, applique your turkey feathers to the background, and then applique your legs, your body, and your head and his nose. And then you could quilt. Okay, and then you have table runners, you could have a placemat, anything along that lines. So that is the second option of the turkey. I don't like those eyes. But very cute. Now, if you wanted, you know, a Dresden plate just continues on around. Okay, so you would just continue on, applique that plate down, and then either machine applique or hand applique the circle into the middle for a full Dresden plate. Okay, and I love this pattern that's on the back of the die, and it's also available in AccuQuilt. It just takes, it's quarter Dresden plates. So it's basically like 4 of these, and then they're just kind of mishmashed around. It's just a different technique for a Dresden plate versus it being a full plate that's there. Okay. So that's Dresden plates. Thank you, Miss Lisa, for all my boards. If you're on here, I can't tell because they're really coming in handy. I'm going to have to make some more. All right. Let's talk about the next one. All right, the next turkey is coming from the courtyard block. This is a new die, and I would definitely call this a advanced die, okay? You can, and it's only advanced in the way that it gets pieced. There are inset seams in this particular die, so it takes a little bit more work to assemble, but he's cute, okay? So this particular die is, well, first, the courtyard block and the pattern, this is a hot pad. If you were part and watched the launch of these dies, you probably saw this. She's also got bees and things along that lines, butterflies, all sorts of things you can make out of this block. This pattern, all the patterns are available on AccuQuilt.com for the courtyard block and for the Dresden plate turkey, okay, as well. So this block, this turkey uses the courtyard die. It uses the owl and the owl accessories to make basically his eyes, his beak, his gobble, and his feet are coming out of these dies. So his eyes, his feet, his beak are all on these two particular dies. Okay. So let's look at the courtyard die. All right. Miss Maria, maybe we will do a breakfast club one morning on how to make these boards. Maybe I'll have a guest presenter and I'll have Miss Lisa come up here and do it, or have her come teach me and then I'll teach you guys. So I'll put it on the list. The boards you can find, Lori Holt's, they're a Lori Holt. You can also buy these already finished. But you know, if you've got extra batting and this is extra scrap fabric laying around, it doesn't take too long. Your first one's always the hardest, the rest of them go faster. Okay, so here is the courtyard turkey. Okay, typically a courtyard block has all solid, okay, petals, all solid. We do have a alternating pieced wedge in here, okay, and I'm going to show you how I did that in a few moments. There it is. I didn't lose it. So here's the pattern, okay, that you can find online. There's the bumblebee version, or here's the bumblebee version, the butterfly version. The poinsettia version is there as well. So this block is, like I said, what I call a little on the advanced side. I would not, these hot pads or this turkey would not be something I'd be making to sell or give as gifts, especially if you don't know the people you're giving it to, because I think it does take a little bit of work to assemble. Because this unit here, this DE unit, which is this unit right here, okay, not too hard, pretty easy. Right sides together, sew your 1/4 inch. What comes into play is that this then has to be inset into this. So you're going to sew down a 1/4 inch and then pivot and then insert it inside each one of these wedges. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 inset seams in this die. So it's like I said, what I would call a more along the lines of an advanced die. Okay, so definitely make your first one out of scrap fabrics. Pay attention to the direction of your grain that you put things on, because that is going to be very important. Okay, now remember, wherever the label is on the die, so whether it's this side or you're using this side, okay, because it's opposite, that is the direction that your lengthwise grain should go on. Okay, let me grab some fabric so we can just have a discussion about lengthwise grain. Now, lengthwise grain is going to have the least amount of stretch to it. Okay, and so if you have a piece of fabric like I have here, there's no selvage on it. You have no idea which direction is lengthwise. Okay. Lengthwise grain runs parallel to the selvage. So if my writing of my selvage was here, this would be the lengthwise grain. Okay. And if my selvage was here, this would be the lengthwise grain running this way. So when you pull on fabric, okay, you can see that this direction, this way, has way more pull to it than this way. Okay, so this is my lengthwise grain. So when I lay this, so if I was going to cut this unit out, I'd be laying my lengthwise grain so that it runs with the label on the die board. So whether it lines up with this one or it lines up with this one, that is the direction that I'm going to cut the fabric. Okay, and that's going to keep the lengthwise grain and the least stretchy grain running the best direction in the die to help keep the edges from being biased, okay, and giving you the best possible way to be successful at getting these particular blocks pieced, okay? Because with this block, like I said, we assemble the star and then we start going in and insetting all of the pieces around the outside to make this a circle, okay? The circle in the center gets appliqued down, and then you can attach the 4 corners to square it off. Because we're making a hot pad, we're not even gonna mess with adding the 4 corners, okay? But this would be all about placement of fabric. So this is your turkey head and your turkey body, okay, would be one of these dies. The rest of these are going to be feathers. And then in between each feather, there is another feather, then surrounded by background. Yes, I am gonna talk about that, Miss Dennett. So the question is how did I do this pieced feather? Okay, so what I did, absolute magic, no, just kidding. Not magic at all. What I did is I took 2 pieces of fabric and I sewed them together, okay? I literally went digging in my scrap bin last night and pulled out 2 pieces of fabric. This was actually a leftover piece of binding. And on this little guy, you can see it was pieced. These were 2 pieces of binding that I repressed back open and sewed together. I'm gonna press my seam open, okay? So that I then can line up the seam with the tip of the, let me zoom in here for you. So I have the seam of this fabric is kind of right in the middle of the tip of that die right there. And I make sure that I go straight down, and then I'm gonna cut it, okay? And then that's going to give you this unit right here, okay? So you could cut this, it would be cute out of, you know, if you've got scrap pieces, you know, I'm big onto just like crazy quilts type things. You could just lay random blocks back on top of this and cut out, you know, feathered and feather pieces or wedges in that aspect. They don't have to be, you know, they don't have to be centered. You could off center it so that, well, this wasn't intentionally off centered, but it was the way that it was. One side is, I have more gold than I have brown. That's there. So that's how these piece blocks were done, okay? Don't cut one of these and then cut it in half and sew it back together, because you've lost 1/4 of an inch of your seam. So now this entire unit is going to be too small to fit all of the rest of the shapes, okay? So it needs to be pieced before you cut it out of the shape. Now, you can stack, if you want, fabrics up, but remember, this is 2 layers right here because you've got a seam allowance. If you don't press the seam allowance open, it's 3 layers on one side. So you're not really going to be able to stack more than 3 layers at a time here, okay? Because you've got to count that seam allowance as a layer that the blade is cutting through, okay? And remember, the rule is 6 layers for your dies to be able to cut through, okay? And if you do fusible on the back of something like his body or his head, for the Dresden plate die, that layer of fusible also counts as a layer. So that would be, you know, 2 would be the fabric and the fusible. That would be 2 layers that you'd be cutting in one pass. So that's how that was done. Not hard. Didn't even break a sweat doing it. Okay. So that is this little guy. He has, if you are fascinated with the courtyard die, AccuQuilters club meeting in December will be on the courtyard die. We're gonna make poinsettias with it in December. So it'll be the first Saturday in December that we do this die more in depth. We will cover piecing and everything in that. And this is the inspiration from the front cover that I'm going for. We just got a bunch of grunges and some other colors in yesterday so that I could get mine cut. Once you have this little guy pieced, his feet come from that owl accessory die, okay? And this is his little waddle, okay, is one of the owl feet cut and then positioned upside down. He's got a nose. You can give him 2 little eyeballs. And you could even, if you wanted, the owl accessory die has like little turkey feathers, chest feathers that you could put on there as well to dress him up. Okay, but that is your turkey done out of the courtyard block. Okay. Next up is, I don't have one. I decided I needed a few hours of sleep. So I skipped making it, but it is adorable. I found digging into the realms of the internet, using the Cleopatra's fan to make turkey feathers, okay? So this is the die that is the Cleopatra's fan die, okay? Lots of curved piecing and things along that line, so I would definitely lean it more towards on the advanced side of a die, just because of the number of pieces and things like that. They're gentle curves. Those curves don't at all scare me, but just the number of pieces and keeping yourself organized. So if you look here, this is 3 Cleopatra's fans with a solid square attached, so into like a 4-patch. This came from, and I forgot to add it here, a website called Clever Chameleon. And if you Google, there's not a pattern for it per se. This was one of her Island Ambassador challenges that she did for Island of Boutiques. Clever Chameleon, if you Google turkey Cleopatra's fan, I believe the first thing that comes up was this, but I just thought it was adorable. Definitely on a bigger side, so we're not talking small. I think the Cleopatra's fan is let me see. I don't even think I have it here. I don't even know what the size of the Cleopatra's fan ends up at. I know it could be 12-inch block. So if you could be, this little guy could be a 36-inch square when you're at it. And I don't know what I did. Oh, there it is. And I don't know if it's in here. Let's see. Oh, it's a 14-inch finished block. So that would be 14 and 14 is 28. So that'd be almost a 28-inch square that you could then make larger, put borders on. Wouldn't need much more, especially if you're doing him as a little a little wall hanging. This die fits all of the Cleopatra's fan die fits all of the machines. Okay, all the dies I talked about today fit the Go Big and the Ready Set Go. Okay, none of the die, this die. Okay, the Cleopatra's fan does not work in the Go Me, which is the small machine. Okay, the Dresden plate does not fit the Go Me. Okay, but it fits in all the other machines. Yes, Miss Danette, because if you set it on point, it's going to be even larger. The let's see, the courtyard die is a skinny die. So let's see. All right, let's just start this. Cleopatra's fan, everything but the Go Me. everything on this screen, Courtyard, Owl, and Owl accessories will fit all of the machines. Okay, they're only 6-inch wide dies, so they fit everything from the Go Me up to the Go Big. The Dresden plate will not fit the Go Me. The holiday accessories will fit all machines. Okay. I say that, let me make sure. Yes, that will fit all machines. And then the cubes fit all machines. Okay. I do not have anything I'm showing today that only works in the Go Big. Okay. Everything else, everything works with the exception of the Dresden plate and the Cleopatra's fan will work in the Go Me. Okay. Questions? Questions. Yes, Miss Betty, that Courtyard can be a very intimidating die with the inset seams, but honestly, it's not that difficult. And the center, I'm going to applique down. I'm not going to be insetting that circle. So it's not too bad. Any questions? The Dresden plate, turkey, and the Courtyard turkey are available for download on the AccuQuilt website. The kite turkey is in the outside of the box book from AccuQuilt and Eleanor Burns, which we have here in the store. And the Cleopatra's fan turkey is just visual inspiration. There is no written pattern for it. Okay. Yeah, he's kind of cute. I kind of like this little Cleopatra's fan turkey. He may have to be next year. I'm not going to try to get into that this year. All right. Any other questions about AccuQuilt? Doesn't have to be about these turkeys. It could be anything AccuQuilt related. We do have 2 AccuQuilt events coming up on Tuesday and Friday of next week. Just as a reminder, you should get an email the day before if you have registered for the event with the information. And I believe I got an email about an hour before as well. They are not recorded, so they have to be watched live, unfortunately. But great information. Even if you can't attend, you could register. You get the handouts in the email and things like that that you can use to reference. On Tuesday is the first date with Bob. So that is, and Bob in the AccuQuilt world means block on board. Okay, that means everything on the die is related to the block. So, for example, the Courtyard is a bob because all of the pieces that you need to make that block are on one board. Okay, so that's what a bob is. Tuesday is first date with Bob, and Friday is there's a die for that. So there's a die for that, covers a lot of looking at patterns and deciphering the dies to be used to make those particular shapes and things along that lines. So Bob on Tuesday, there's a die for that on Friday. Okay. Registration can still happen. The easiest way to register is to head to materialgirlsquilt.com, go to the calendar, and then click on either the date of Tuesday or Friday's date. You'll see the events there. And then from inside of there, you will get the link to go to the appropriate place for the registration. No, bobs are not for just the big electric machine. There is a snail's trail that's made for the big, but there's also a smaller version for the regular goes. There is a wedding ring that's for the big, but there's also a smaller version for the regular goes. The let's see, Snail's Trail. There's a what is that? Churn Dash. That is just for the go big. But most of the other bobs are small. Most of them are like this. The log cabin die is the larger die, but it fits the regular. And so when I say larger die, it's the log cabin is like this, which is the 10 by 24 die. And then this is the 6 by 24 die. Most of the bobs are on these longer dies, but we have some that are on smaller dies, like Hattie's Choice, Spider Web, things along that line. So yeah, there's nothing that is, Courtyard is all die. All Courtyard works on everything. Go me, go big, go, ready, set, go. Okay. So, and if you have a studio with the appropriate, all these dies will work in studios with the appropriate die adapters. So that's there. Any new AccuQuilt class? Just AccuQuilters right this second. I am working on something for 2021 beyond the block of the month that we have this year, going Harmony, which will go into the beginning of next year. But I'm working on another block project with AccuQuilt, and yeah, I haven't even looked at. I have the information, but I haven't even opened it to look at it. So I have some things that I'd like to do more of next year. So if there's specific classes that you'd like to see for AccuQuilt, please send them to me. Send me an email. I am always looking for ideas and things that I can help put into classes. Yes, behind me is a painted backdrop. Okay, it's 4 painted panels that are hinged together. They came from Quilt Show days. The company that used to make big boards was located in Calvert County. Okay, and this is part of what they used for their show displays. And when they sold their business, the big board business, and got out of the show business, I purchased this backdrop because I thought it would be kind of cool in the classroom. It's been living in the main classroom of Material Girls for about 15 years. It's been hiding a giant mirror that sits in that back corner from when we did garment alterations. We had a large mirror in the corner for wedding dresses and things. So it's been sitting in that corner, hidden behind the long armor bags and classroom machines and stuff like that. And because I just didn't really have a use for it. So at the last minute, about 10 minutes before we started today, I decided that I didn't really like what was behind me in this lecture. So, and I don't have any quilt rack displays. So I thought, oh, what about that? And so we quickly went out and made a mess in the other classroom to bring it over here to sit behind me, because it's much prettier than looking at all of the Q series boxes, the quilts that need to be sold, and things like that. So yes, this is the new backdrop for the film studio, as we are now calling it. So yeah, don't worry, you're not the only one who never saw it, Miss Felice. Most people don't even know that it looks there. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Some of you I will see in about 40 minutes at the November AccuQuilters meeting. Here, I'll give everybody a little sneak peek. So AccuQuilters this month, we are working with a bob. We're working with Starry Path. So we're going to talk about this block. Okay. So at 10 o'clock, for those that are registered with AccuQuilters at 10, I'll see you in about 40 minutes, and we will discuss that you should not make that block at 2 o'clock in the morning. No, you just have to be a little more organized. So I hope you guys have a great weekend and we will see you soon. Thanks for joining me this morning for breakfast and have a great day. Bye, everybody.